Hello, I'm Dr. Sam Hancock of the Emerald Planet and Emerald Planet TV. We come to you on a week-to-week basis from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we look around the globe in 144 different nations, looking for those 1,000 best practices, the technology, services, and products that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And as we have a planet of 9 billion people by 2038 and possibly 12 to 13 billion by the end of this century, how are we going to be able to take care of all these people on planet Earth? And that's what Emerald Planet's all about. We come to you looking at the solutions, the best practices from around the globe as we create the Emerald Planet. Hello, welcome to the Emerald Planet. We're making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And seeing the long-term impacts of climate change. We're glad to have you. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for being with us as we're looking at pandemics and natural disasters. And there's a place in California that has both of these going simultaneously and has had some of the largest billion-dollar disasters in the history of the United States. And so we have Jennifer Gray Thompson. She's the CEO of what's called Rebuild NorthBay Foundation, and doing absolutely fantastic work of juxtaposition of the pandemic, natural disasters, and yet including the entire community, every sector involved in this. So Jennifer, welcome to the Emerald Planet.
Thank you for having me.
Say, tell us a little bit about Rebuild NorthBay, why it's important, and then let's get into how you're balancing pandemics and natural disasters.
Sure. Rebuild North Bay Foundation was founded in the midst of our devastating wildfires in Sonoma and Napa Lake and Mendocino counties in 2017. And we are formed as a long-term recovery and resiliency organization specifically formed to help the nonprofit, public, and private sectors collaborate and work together.
I tell you, I think it's fantastic what you're absolutely doing. And when you see something like this, it's so massive, so destructive, so powerful. What do you think about day to day when you go into work and you're trying to rebuild people's lives, the environment, the economy, and something that just really swept through that no one could ever conceive of being this destructive, but yet it's happened?
Well, you think about how you can be of the best service and what gaps you can fill and how you can help people have their needs met in order to rebuild back better, safer, faster, and greener. And that is our tagline besides rebuild and reimagine. And so you're always trying to think of what are the needs, and the way that you learn what the needs are is you ask, what do you need and how can I help? And every day my team and I, we come to work and that's what we ask.
Yeah, I tell you, it's fantastic. But when you look at this, and then you're in the middle of a pandemic, and you have this invisible, insidious disease that's creeping across the society. People are dying, people are in fear, and yet they know they must go forward. So how do you balance that when this is something that I'm sure you never even thought of? The wildfires, you thought, oh my God, not another one, but we know what to do now. And all of a sudden you have this going on.
Well, you immediately try to watch it as a private citizen, but then attend to and act as a leader in your position. People look to us immediately to figure out systems, and that's what we're good at, is looking at the matrix and figuring out what lane people should be in and advising in that capacity, as well as finding, immediately deploying grants that we thought made sense over the next year, such as Zoom grants, tech grants, so that forward-facing organizations, especially service-based ones, could immediately pivot to a place where they can continue their work, but in a virtual manner. So you take it in chunks, and you take what you've learned before, and you apply where it does work now, but you continue to ask, what do you need and how can we help?
And this is really interesting. The mantra that you just laid out there is faster, greener, better, more innovative, more resilient, more sustainable. All these descriptors But when you look at the size and scale of the destruction, you just wondered, how can we do all of this? But yet you've really put together a fantastic coalition coming out of the private sector, going into the public sector, government. In other words, every part of the community is becoming
Yeah.
involved in this. So, looking in this room, how do you tap into the energy, the wisdom, the resources, the social good, if you will, and the social resource that you have in the community to make sure that all these people are involved?
You make sure that you have pre-existing relationships and that you are willing to make new ones. You never ever fail to pick up the phone and call people and ask them if they can help in this way. And most people are willing and happy to help. You ask for specific numbers. What is your number? What do you need? And then you look to fill that need. And so, there are different stages of disaster. And right now we are just in the midst of it, but 18 and 24 months out, you have to then start thinking long term, because long term is where the rest of the puzzle comes from and the answers come from. And that is only done through collaboration and cooperation.
Mm-hmm. I think it's fantastic. Together we can. What a powerful statement that you're making for Rebuild NorthBay. Tell us about this Together We Can, and how are you actually implementing this on a day-to-day, month-to-month basis so that people feel like there's a path forward out of all of this destruction, whether it's a pandemic or natural resource destruction going on around them?
Well, the first thing you do is that you bring together all of the sectors. Rebuild North Bay was founded by private sector individuals who wanted to do more than write a check. They wanted to leverage their talents. They believed that they had a role and responsibility in disaster. And traditionally, the public sector and the nonprofit sector take care of disaster, and the private sector is sort of left out. And at this point, we knew, for example, with our disaster, that it was too great and too large for any one sector to handle on our own. And so it's a new model, it's an innovative model, and that's where we began. So we just take that and we apply it to other disasters, no matter what their size is. We make sure we're communicating with the public sector and the nonprofit sector and the private sector, finding out what their needs are, and you have to take it in pieces. You cannot look, you can sort of anticipate forward, but don't get too bogged down by what the immediate, how overwhelming it can be. Take it in chunks and then do what you can every single day, and it does get better.
So, Jennifer, why is it so important to recognize the contributions that these people are making when they're doing it, and not just wait to have a big banquet sometime later?
Because that's how you build resiliency, is through gratitude and expressing that gratitude, and showing, constantly communicating with people about the talents that they have to offer. Everybody has a talent that they can offer to post-disaster, and we encourage that and we nurture our relationships with people. And I think that when you value them, they know.
I tell you, I think it's absolutely fantastic. But looking at this photograph, this is something I find very touching. We're seeing nature is it's resilient. It's coming back on its own. You have people that are actually helping themselves, helping their neighbors. Why is that so important that we consider the environment as well as the economy and civil society all at the same time, instead of just thinking about either rebuilding, we have to protect the environment, we have to restructure civil society, but we need to do this all together and let everybody participate.
We do. And the other thing is that I think it's a false dichotomy that the environment and the economy cannot work together and that they don't feed and help each other. I think that they do. And I think that if these disasters are teaching us nothing else, it's that they are inextricably linked, and that we have an opportunity here to reimagine our economy in a way that's far more sustainable.
Well, I think that's something that's really important. And looking at this fantastic photograph of this area, in your 4 counties, how do we get back to this where people have a sense of calm, sense of belonging, the sense that actually there will be a new normal? We don't know what really that is, but we need to make it the very best we possibly can.
We can't. We have to give them a role, and we have to invite them to the table, and that means everybody. Like the emergent leadership is incredibly important in any disaster, including this one, and that means that we invite them to reimagine what our world and what our economy is going to look like, our social economy, social justice, healthcare, all of those things. People have a point of view, and we do have to have leads of each of those agencies at the table, and that means nonprofit, private and public sector.
Yeah, looking at that, the next generations, involving them now and not just waiting. I think that's something that's really critical and important. But what are you seeing through the eyes of this children that you're coming in contact with on a day-to-day basis? And I'm going to leave up this one in the very next photograph at the very end. How do we involve them now so that they know what may be coming for the future?
Well, I think that we model good behavior. We model kind behavior and patience, and we innovate. The more that we reimagine and innovate, the more comfortable they're going to be with being uncomfortable. And it starts with us as adults.
I think that's absolutely fantastic. And we're going to leave this. This sign is for you and everyone else watching this. This is Jennifer Gray Thompson. She's the CEO of Rebuild NorthBay. Thank you for being with us as we create the Emerald Planet.